is the Dawg Pound. Oh, I got to tell you, folks, I blew up the internet last week. It was absolutely incredible.
You did.
I mean, we totally blew up the internet. 60,000 people checked in on the blog and the video. It was unbelievable. I mean, some people were barbecuing me. Other people were applauding me. And I ran an informal poll. Will dealers be here 10 years from now? Because I had read an article in the Wall Street Journal. I'd read an article in Automotive News, and I'd read a dozen other articles online that were pretty well mirroring the same message that car dealers are doomed. Car dealers will not be in existence by 2032. I mean, that's the theme of every one of those articles. So we did a Dawg Pound video about that. And then I ran a poll and asked people, will car dealers be here within the next decade? And 68% of the people said, absolutely, car dealers will be here in the next decade. But that still leaves 32% that said no. And you got to remember, that was my audience. That was heavily weighted car people. That was dealers. That was industry executives. That was vendors. That was people in the car business. 68% said we're going to be here 10 years from now, but 32% said the manufacturers were going to be selling direct to the consumers and eliminate the dealers. 32% said vendors were going to be selling cars directly to the public. 32% said that the Right to Repair Act is going to kick in and private repair shops are going to absorb what we're now doing in service, and the manufacturers are going to pay them. And you know what? Before I get to our guest panelists today, I'm going to tell you.
Breaking up.
Am I breaking up? I didn't mean to break up.
Good on my end.
Okay. You're breaking up. Anyway.
I think you guys just broke up.
Let me tell you something. If I ran that same poll to the general public, I guarantee you the numbers would be reversed. 68% of the people in the general public would say that car dealers are not going to be in existence 10 years from now.
I don't know about that one.
The general public is believing what they're seeing, what they're hearing. I believe the general public would go the other direction. But before we get into a discussion on that, let me introduce our panelists and our guest panelists today. Beginning with a man that I have known for at least 20 years, 25 years. I met this man when we were working together. He was general manager, and I was the paid consultant at King of Cars, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm telling you, Rich Ackman. Hey, big guy.
Hey, Jimmy.
How you doing?
I'm great. It's good to see you.
We had some adventures at King of Cars, the Blue Genie, 800 cars a month on a 3-acre lot. I mean, that was a lot of fun.
That was, I tell a lot of people, probably as much fun as I've ever had in the car business. But
I'd stand on the balcony looking down into the showroom. It looked like an anthill. There were so many people in that dealership. Absolutely phenomenal. And most recently, 20 group consultant with Nichols Campbell NCM. And now he's on his own with LZR Associates.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. One of the foremost consultants, one of the brightest general managers in the industry, my friend, Rich Ackman.
Thank you.
Go back even farther than that. A real old friend of mine, not physically old, just old, and I've known him a long time. My friend, one of the greatest futurists in the industry. Matter of fact, the second greatest futurist in the industry. Cliff Banks. Hey, Cliff.
James, great to be here. Good to see you guys. Thanks.
Now, Cliff has a publication called The Banks Report. And if you want to find out what's really going on, no filter, subscribe to The Banks Report. We're going to talk about how to do that before the show's over. And we were discussing this before the broadcast. Still one of the most brilliant women in the car business. Now she's got her own company. Next Level Digital, next Level Briggs. Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim. How are you today? I was just saying, just in my head, not realizing I was on mute. If they don't know Cliff Banks, they don't know. So
yeah, that's a fact.
Oh, if you don't know Cliff Banks, you don't know.
Yeah, you definitely don't.
Stay under the radar. You guys know that.
Cliff,
Well,
Yeah, but for
I
those
know
of you who
do, but
know-
the in the know people know you. There's no denying it.
no denying Cliff Banks.
We follow you
Absolutely.
on purpose.
Right.
Thank you.
Between Cliff and I, we probably have a 99% accuracy record in forecasting the car business. You're looking at two of the greatest futurists in the industry, like it or not. He deals with statistics. I deal with gut level feelings.
I mean, I can tell you the minute somebody says to me, like, did so-and-so buy so-and-so, or what's going on with that? I'm like, hold on, let's look up what Cliff's got going on right now.
Let's see what Cliff says.
Yeah,
I used to have a bracelet, WWBD. What would Banks do?
Oh, I thought that was what would Bobbie do, but I'll share it with you, Glenn.
Okay. One of the most outspoken women in the car business. Brilliant queen of BDC, business development, unsurpassed anywhere, anyhow. Don't take this woman on. Bobbie Herron. Hi, kid.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everybody today.
And direct from Moscow, Russia. The mad Russian himself, the king of reinsurance, the F&I guru, 4 published books on Amazon. He just got back from fixing USA elections. My friend, Max Zanan. Hey, big guy.
Hey, Jim. Thank you for having me again. And
It's going to cost us so much to bail you out when they start checking our video feeds and you're like you're being investigated.
Right.
I don't recognize your background. He might already be arrested.
Where are you today, Max?
No, I got a Christmas tree going there.
Okay,
I
that's
love
yeah.
that.
Where are you?
I'm in Spain.
You're still in Spain. He's
Yes,
got
sir.
residences in Spain, New York, Pennsylvania, and the Kremlin.
Only because I believe that car dealers will be around.
There you go.
Oh,
Seems
okay.
like-
You're
so-
the believer. Okay, let's start this discussion, and I want to open it up with Mr. Banks himself. Let's do this. Okay, I had to cut Max out there. Let me do it another
Did
way.
you kick Max off for saying that? What just happened?
No, I didn't kick him off. Let's try this format here. Mr. Cliff Banks, will car dealers be around 10 years from now?
You know, Jim, it's a funny question. And I think just referring back to some of the headlines you've seen recently, if we go back 4 or 5 years ago, and if you remember the whole autonomous hype and craze, and all of the conversation was private ownership going away, dealerships going away. And I pretty much had a standard presentation that I gave, still giving today, on just the myth of disruption in our space. And a great
Started
portion-
with Scott Painter.
Well, yes. Scott and I have had a lot of conversations through the years about that very topic. I mean, listen, we go back 20 years ago during the internet.com era, and you remember what some of those folks were saying, and they all are either out of business or they've had to adopt a more dealer-friendly business model over the years. So, yeah, I think dealers are going to be around 10 years from now. I do think, though, we are entering one of the greatest eras of uncertainty in the history of this industry.
Uncertainty. Talk about that.
Well, you know, if we think about it, I mean, for 100 years, we've known what the car was going to look like, what was going to propel the car, gasoline. We've known, I mean, who the manufacturers were going to be. The manufacturers for 100 years were the same. I mean, you know, some dropped out, some were bought and sold, but the names all remained the same, and these companies were essentially the same. Today, we have 18 publicly traded electric vehicle manufacturers, I think one of whom has actually sold a vehicle. We have 3 that are private, but so all these have come on in the last.
Which one is that? Lucid?
Yeah, no, Tesla.
No. I thought Lucid had sold one.
Well, Lucid might have. Yeah, I mean, there's some orders out there, for some of them, obviously, but and I think Rivian may have started delivering here in the last week or so. So, but we don't. Those are some things that we don't know. What the electric vehicle era is going to look like. Is it really going to be an EV era? Are customers going to buy? Will the infrastructure questions get resolved that are out there?
Infrastructure is going to be an incredible amount of
infrastructure is going to be huge. And if it does, what happens to service? When we talked a little bit about service, you mentioned the Right to Repair Act earlier, Jim. I just think that there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what the retail networks are going to look like. I think the connected vehicle personally has the greatest potential impact on the retail industry, both at the vendor and dealer level, just because the manufacturers are going to have access to all of that vehicle data and corresponding customer data that they don't have today. And therefore, they're going to be in a greater position to dictate even more firmly what the retail process is going to look like.
Let me ask Rich.
That's what I was thinking.
Let me ask Rich. Hey, Rich, we're going to be around 10 years from now?
Absolutely.
Well, hey, you're pretty firm on that. I mean, Wall Street Journal says we're done.
Well, there's a couple different authors of our articles and some subject matter experts that really include how long it takes to get into the EV space. If we sell 15, 16 million cars, naturally aspirated gasoline cars the next 3, 4, 5 years, plus all the cars that are on the road, and someone's got to fix them. And most of what I read is, the independents are going to have some, it's going to get a little tougher on the independents when all that starts happening. So the manufacturer's going to have to have someone replace batteries, and there's still things going to go on the car. So I think, 15 years out, it might look a little bit different, but right now, and of course it is changing, the landscape is changing, and you really don't know what's going to happen with the manufacturers. Ford's doing this, build to order situation, and, Tesla's model.
Let me jump in there a second.
Yeah.
Okay, Ford just went built to order. Is that not a precursor? And some of the other manufacturers, Volvo's already shipping directly to the consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Is this not a precursor to factory direct sales when Ford Motor Company starts doing built to order? General Motors is now doing reserve cars, Chrysler, every one of them. Come on, Rich.
Well, I think the business model is definitely going to change, and the expense structure are going to change. But to me,
but isn't that eliminating dealers when the manufacturer starts shipping direct to the public and built to order? I mean, they're buying from the manufacturer. They're not buying from the dealer.
Well, yeah, and there's no doubt. Certainly we can read between the lines, but they're certainly assumptions at this point. But to me, they still have to have some entity deliver the cars. They have to have some entity to be able, and the build to order, how large a percentage is it going to be? But with that could come additional volume, and they are paying these dealers to deliver the cars. So
okay, well, anyway, let me ask Jennifer a second. Jennifer, what's going to happen?
Well, my answer hasn't changed from last week. I don't think that the dealers are going anywhere. I think that if we don't start banding together,
there's that big if word again. Everybody's telling me if. I keep hearing if, and I mean, but that hasn't happened.
No. Oh, no. What I mean is there are a lot of different factors that are coming at us, like right to repair, like we were talking about last week, which was really kind of funny in all the hubbub. Everybody lost sight of that was the actual topic, as we're talking about one more attack on our profit areas in the right to repair federal regulations. So I don't think we're going anywhere, but like Max says, I'm not a typical dealer anyways. So the way we operate already is very customer friendly. We've been shipping, from the minute I came out of the accounting office into operations, like my first sale went from Saginaw, Michigan to Wichita, Kansas on our own personal car hauler that the dealership owned. So for me, we're always adapting and evolving. We are really good at that in this business. And for that reason, 100% will still be here. I think that it just is going to be the strong will survive. It's just regular evolution.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think it's just going to be an absolute fact that the expense structure is going to look like, and NADA is very strong. That lobbyist area. I haven't heard any talk about it yet on this.
Now, wait a second. I disagree. I think NADA has been very flaccid. I mean, I'm sorry. NADA has been limping off the battlefield as far as the vendors' data absorption, the things the manufacturers do. And I don't think the NADA has been effective at all.
Well,
No,
Jim,
I think it's gonna tie with, and this is a whole nother topic maybe, but with the party that's in control, and then based on that,
Cliff wants to jump in 1 second.
Yeah, so NADA, the recent Arizona lawsuit restricting what DMS vendors can do with the data and how much control they have over what the dealership wants. NADA was very instrumental in making sure that lawsuit was filed. It went to the 9th District in San Francisco, Northern California, on appeal by the DMS players, and it got shut down. The law is effective. Numerous other states are in the process of passing those laws, similar laws.
Well,
And they have
Cliff,
a clear
Cliff,
runway
let me
to do
ask
that.
you.
That was NADA. And it's
Cliff,
All right, Jim,
you've known me.
yeah, we've had this.
You've known me for 25 years. How long have I been screaming about the vendors stealing data?
Yes, I
Was not the
late
first?
to the
I
table.
was
You're
the
right.
first one to sound the alarm. I'm Paul
And
Revere of the
NADA
internet.
was
Okay?
late to the table. I agree. I think, but again, let's
Took them
keep
long
in mind-
enough.
But let's
That's
keep in
my
mind,
bigger concern
NADA
with all this.
NADA has really legally his hands tied with how much it can do regarding vendors and even manufacturers. You and I both remember the Tonkin Rough Rider days.
The Rough Riders, yeah, they got a little
Right.
trouble. Yeah, they
And
sure did.
Tonkin
A
got
little.
NADA into, to put it mildly, into some
Just a
trouble.
little bit.
Yeah,
And
but then
that-
they
that
swung
is-
the other way. Frank McCarthy was an inspiration.
Yes.
Then we had Phil Brady, and then we had
Right.
who's the next bozo? I forget his name, but anyway,
Peter Welch, yes, from California.
Peter
right,
Welch.
right,
Okay, yeah, I don't like Peter Welch. Let's disclaim that right out.
right.
I think I used the word nincompoop. I mean, that was a personal opinion, but still,
Yeah. I would argue that I would say this: NADA fights a lot of its battles under the radar. The PPP money from the COVID stimulus that the dealers were able to get their hands on, and if you look at the list, a lot of dealers.
Okay, well, I don't want to spend the whole broadcast defending
I know.
NADA.
But
That's
that was
not our
all
subject.
NADA. That was all
That's not-
NADA that got them.
Let me
But
get Bobbie Herron on a
All right.
second. Okay, Bobbie.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be here 10 years from now.
I think it's going to look completely different than it does now. I don't think we're going to be
Okay.
gone. I just don't think it's going to look the same anymore.
Okay, well, tell me about that
Yes.
a little bit.
Well, I mean, right now, the ability to steal data as all of this is happening is going to change the way that some of these car manufacturers that are new are going to become advertising powerhouses.
Bobbie,
I'm
you've
just
known me
convinced
for
of
10
it.
years, 10 years maybe?
Yeah,
Now, how long have
Yeah.
I been screaming about data theft by the vendors?
forever.
I was the only one screaming about it. I mean, I was the first one. And Cliff said, okay, the NADA just finally entered the battlefield. And I'm hoping the NADA is more effective than they have been. And I'll give them a chance.
Yeah.
I will back off
Well,
the NADA, Cliff.
I won't pretend to know the legality of what NADA is and is not allowed to do, but I will tell you this. I imagine in my head that a conversation about data with the higher ups at NADA probably looks something like it did when Facebook conversations happened with the Senate. Like, oh, you could do that? I didn't even know, because everybody's 186 years old and not using stuff. But it's scary, the data stealing that can happen. And as far as what dealerships will look like in 10 years, will they be here with this Right to Repair Act? Will they be here with the changes that are happening and what's going on? We're watching dealerships that are selling every single day because they can't handle a pandemic for 2 years and how to digitally sell in a market that's been doing it for 15 plus right now. So I absolutely think it's going to look different.
Okay, I got to go to, and I saved him for last.
Uh-oh. I'm
He's
going to
got
make a
secret
prediction.
knowledge.
The contrarian himself. I mean, okay,
gonna say
okay,
one
Max,
first.
I'm almost afraid to ask you what you got.
No. Listen, Jim. I read a lot of books, and one of the books that left the huge impression on me is called "Only the Paranoid Survive," right? And it was written by Andrew Grove, who ran Intel, and he actually happened to be their employee number 3 before he became a CEO. And you have to have a healthy sense of paranoia if you want to survive in any business. And I think the simple answer here is that, yes, some dealers will be around that deserve to be around, and other dealers will not be around because they don't deserve to be around. So unless you look at it, in the book, he talks about strategic inflection points. And these are critical moments during the life of any company when its entire strategy needs to be brought into question. So I'll give you a perfect example. Barnes & Noble completely missed out on electronic e-reader. And that was an inflection point. And their reaction led to the fact that Barnes & Noble is no longer an entity that's being taken seriously in the world of Amazon, right? Same thing is going to happen to car dealers. They're smart car dealers that will look in the mirror and make critical decisions. And listen, later during the show, we can
Where
go
do you see the NADA in all this?
nowhere, because I live by the fact that only the paranoid survive, right? I can only rely on myself. Why would I entrust my destiny into the hands of NADA, whatever NADA is, good or bad?
Well, see, I'm willing to give
Definitely
NADA a
not try.
chance.
I
There's a whole
agree with that,
new-
Max.
There's
Absolutely.
there's a whole new wind blowing with NADA. Paul Walzer, one of the most forward-thinking, one of the best
Yes.
dealers in the country.
Walzer Group.
At Walzer Group. I mean, he's the man this year. I'm hoping NADA is more aggressive and more forceful and more protective of the dealers. I have had a perception that this is all my personal opinion, but I've had a. Did everybody hear that? My personal opinion is some legal shit. But anyway, this is my personal opinion, but I think NADA has catered more to the vendors that own the main street of the convention. You go down the boulevard on the convention, the vendors own it, and I think they're more afraid of offending them. And I think that has been one of the biggest problems. Now, Rich, you've been jumping up and down on the sidelines. I'm going to get back to Max, but what do you got over there, Rich?
Well, I'm just, the piece for me, the NADA piece, because there's a whole political structure that comes into place here. And the viewpoint of laws that should stick, laws that will be challenged on the books, and that perspective of, having a free enterprise economy. And there's going to be a lot of political positioning. And quite frankly, it's going to be harder, I think, to keep those laws, franchise laws, state and federal laws in place with one party than the other. But NADA, and I agree 100% with Max, because they're in the background. And, to me, when the business model changes, exactly what Max said, the dealers, and they're so resilient. I mean, look at the dealer body and what's happened over the years. They're going to adapt to whatever they're given, but the dealers that understand and like the big private companies, exactly what they have to do to drive profits for whatever model they're in and their expense structures are going to make as much money as they've ever made, in my humble opinion. They just
Oh,
are.
no, you have no humble opinion. I mean, Rich, humility is a disease you and I have never been afflicted with. Okay.
See, and
Okay.
I disagree with the big groups, because the bigger you are, the harder it is to be nimble and to adapt. So I think we'll actually see, and we've seen it a lot with some mid-sized groups really kind of stepping in and scooping up these small ones. At least for me, it's easier to set those processes into place and to make an impact and make a change in a smaller organization, 30 stores versus 300, and to ensure consistency across the board. But ultimately, as far as, and I'm glad to hear, Cliff, that a lot of times, because you would have more knowledge of this stuff that happens behind closed doors than a lot of us would, that NADA fights most of those battles. Because I mean, this right to repair has got me fired up, right? It just,
let me just talk about the right to repair. I was writing about that 20 years ago.
I know you were.
And so was I.
Reading
So
your
was I.
article
Yeah, and
from
so is I.
2018.
It's
Cliff and I,
Yeah,
we were
What's
both
hard
writing-
though,
We were both
what's hard,
writing
though, is
about
that
it 20 years ago.
the consumer wants to have a different opportunity though. And I know nobody likes to hear that, but think about like that right to repair act. I don't have to take my iPhone to an Apple service center anymore to get it fixed. I can not spend $900 and be inconvenienced and spend $50 to go have it done somewhere else in a convenient way. And how do you get to a point where that happens, where right to repair happens and actually passes, is typically, in my opinion, by frustrated consumers and well-hired lobbyists because of it. So while we're like, I hate this law, I don't enjoy going to the dealership to get my car manufactured.
I don't hate the law, and I want to call out a point. They're saying right to repair has been around at a state level, but what we're discussing is a federal level and having a unilateral federal regulation there.
Let me jump in on that a second.
very hard
Agreed.
for
That article I talked, I get to everybody. Just calm down.
People don't know what you guys are talking about, is what I'm telling you. I'm watching the comments.
I'll get to all of you. But that article I talked about last week, remember I said there was an article and all of a sudden that article disappeared, that Nissan had partnered with a bunch of private repair shops. That article all of a sudden reappeared under the same click. I mean, all of a sudden that article is back up. I'm going to have to ask Jennifer and Bobbie, hang on. I'm going to ask Cliff about that. What about the right to repair, Cliff?
Well, I've got a friend that's pretty close to it on the independent side. And so I've heard all the stories. I know all the stories that the independents and the measures or steps that they've done under the radar, some illegally too, to get their hands on the scanning tools and on all the appropriate codes that lets them repair cars. But I'll tell you, I mean, as we move into this connected vehicle and even EV somewhat stage, it's going to be a lot harder to repair some of these vehicles, and it's going to require people with some computer knowledge. I think that the manufacturers, even just the technician training that goes on at the dealership level, I think that that's going to be a better opportunity from dealers to capture and expand that service business, even if EV business isn't as necessary. There's still going to be things that are going to have to be fixed. So I think there's some opportunities there that dealers
Cliff, are we talking about Nissan partnering with private individual repair shops?
I mean, you're
car dealers. They're smart.
Yeah, I mean, the manufacturers are going to do a lot of things, and we've seen it through the years. You've written about this stuff, the manufacturers, and
Cliff, you're talking in circles on me.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not. A lot of these things just aren't effective. I mean, we were writing about build to order 20 years ago. I call me skeptical, but I think that some of these things are very hard to implement. And the right to repair, okay, it sounds good for a consumer, but it's I think it's going to be a lot harder for an independent company, independent repair shop to implement and to stay competitive with car dealers.
Okay,
I mean,
how are they-
electric vehicles, everybody. Electric vehicles. We're entering an age where we can't find text for gasoline vehicles, much less now we've got a
Right,
whole
exactly.
new
Right.
a whole new technology we have to deal with. And let's face it, electric vehicles are coming. What's gonna happen, Rich?
Well, again, everything that I'm reading and researching and looking at is that whatever the new dynamic's going to be, as Max talked about, I don't know any group that's any more resilient than car dealers. They'll go get that business. The other thing is that how are you going to, these independents going to attract the individuals and pay them to be able to fix and work on these cars? And the other thing is you think these men, have you ever seen what one of those batteries cost?
No, how much?
Well, I had a friend, I had a dealer, a client, I don't know if this number is exactly right, but they had a problem with one of their vehicles with a battery, and it was under warranty, and they had an individual that had to be trained to put the thing in. He went to all this training, right? But I think it was like $28,000 that they reimbursed him
Depends on
for.
the battery, depends on the vehicle, but yeah, costs are crazy.
Yeah,
right
so these manufacturers are going to let these independent shops with who knows the certifications and things, maybe they can get them certified.
Jiffy Lube's will be
Right.
changing batteries.
So you think about it, and if it takes a dealer opening up a little shop on the corner to change the batteries in and out, guess who's going to do it? I mean, they're going to. I just don't see it. I don't see them being able to do what the dealers can do. The dealers are going to figure out a way. The laws are going to stay into place as far, and I'm with Max.
You sound like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
Controlling my own destiny.
Dealers will find a way.
Control my own destiny.
That's right.
Well,
Jim, can I jump in? Can I jump in here, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay,
Max. So I want to tie in the electric cars and the right to repair, right? Let's just act as if it's here. Let's say they passed the law. Let's say electric cars are everywhere, right? So what are we going to do about it, right? So step number one, what I see from where I'm sitting is that every dealer is into horizontal integration, meaning they just keep buying more stores. They're in the same place in the supply chain. Nobody's thinking about vertical integration. And like Rich just said, why can't we have a shop? Why can't we own an independent shop?
My
right?
stores do.
Right. But your stores are an exception, right?
I know. I'm the abnormal one.
Right.
For
So
cooling.
look at it from the perspective of vertical integration. Also, let's be honest, people go to independents not because of the right to repair, but because they're not happy with the service they're getting at the dealership. So maybe again, look in the mirror.
Time is the convenience.
Right, convenience. Right. So
dealers have this silly ass
idea. Sell the idea.
Max,
convenient.
dealers have this silly ass sign in front of some of their dealerships, Quick Lube.
Right.
What bullshit that is. Quick Lube.
Right. And Jim, the final point about vertical integration, and I think, I really failed to make that point last week, is that you really need to be in control of your destiny through reinsurance. Mm-hmm. You need to be your own third-party administrator, so you can tell the customer where to go to repair your car, right? Whether they're coming back to you, whether they're going to the independent shop that you own, right? What parts they're going to use, right? And unless dealers
you are totally reassured, you can direct the consumer where to go.
Of course.
Absolutely. And Jimmy, the other.
Yeah, the disappearing deductible is the key there.
Yeah.
Right. You can use a disappearing deductible.
Wait a second. The disappearing deductible. Who invented that? I can document who invented that.
I don't actually know, but when I did finance, I appreciated it. And when I was at GSM, I liked it even more because I got paid off service.
That concept.
When you pick up what Max, you pick up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That dealers have to understand that they are on their own, right? The OEM is not going to be on their side. Maybe an ADA is not going to be on their side. So once you start looking at your business environment as if you are on your own, you will immediately realize that you can sell OEM prepaid maintenance, right? Because it directs people to go anywhere, right? You can sell OEM F&I products because they can direct customers to go anywhere, right? So once you start seeing these little things, you will change the way you do business. You will change the product offering in your F&I department, and you'll be able to build wealth outside of your dealership.
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy, you look at the dealer body as a whole and the resilience and how sharp they are. And when you talk about the big publics, they have the sharpest economists, the highest paid accountants, and so do some of the mid-sized groups, right? So they're out in front of this thing. So when a new year rolls around, it's December, right? Right now with my clients, you sit down, you take your business model and you say, okay, how am I going to structure that business model? Here's the people that I need, right? Here's the processes. If there's anything new, we're going to lay into place. We're going to measure the heck out of them. We're going to hold people accountable to them. And I know how much revenue I can generate based on the model I have. And I'm going to put the good ones, the ones that are going to make it. There's a great book called Traction. Everybody should read it, but how you get traction around execution. So once you have that model, my perspective is these resilient dealers and these sharp GMs and the people the Bobbies and the Jennifers, right? They're gonna look at that model. They're gonna forecast their business, and then they're gonna drive the revenue to get 25 to 30% net to gross, or 4 or 5% net to sales, and they're gonna do it. And it's gonna be different. It's gonna
Let me jump Cliff in there a second. Cliff's been jumping up and down on the sidelines over here.
You got to get loud up in here, guys. This is how we roll.
Hey, Cliff, what's your thoughts?
Well, no, I think what Max is talking about clearly, dealers owning their destiny, looking at things like reinsurance. Listen, dealers have been doing that for years and decades, and that's part of the resilience there. I do think the industry is going to look different. The dealers are getting bigger. I mean, just in I'll share a data point with you. Over 10 years prior to 2020, so we'll go 2011 to 2020, the public dealer groups acquired 332 rooftops in the U.S. Mm-hmm. That's not counting Penske and Group 1s outside the U.S.
From 11 to 20.
Yes, 2011 to 2020, 332 rooftops they acquired. In 2021, as of this week, it's 226 they acquired this year.
This year.
I'm going to write that down. I knew it was high, but I didn't know it was that high. You said 226 this year, but between
Cliff,
11 and 20, it was three what?
A trend I'm seeing, Cliff.
332 the previous 10 years.
A trend I'm seeing, Cliff, is that it appears that private-owned companies are buying more aggressively than the publics.
I think, well, that's always been the case, actually, since we started tracking the data in 2011. I think this year, I don't have the final numbers yet. I mean, every day there's more, but we're looking at probably near, in the neighborhood of 600 rooftops that have changed hands. Yeah. The record was in 2015, and that was in the 400s, and that was when Buffett bought the 80-some stores of Van Tile. Really, typically it's 330 to 350, typically per year, rooftops that change hands in the U.S. Now we're going to be 600 or more this year.
But are the big publics getting rid of any dealerships in that?
Yeah, not many, but they have to. I mean, listen. As you know, when they buy a large group, there's always on the back end, within the next couple of months, we'll read of a sale of a Lexus store, a Toyota store, or a Mercedes store, just to keep in compliance with the framework agreements that the manufacturers have. But certainly the thing driving that today, all this acquisition activity, is the cash that is there at the dealership level, and the publics have to deploy that cash. They can buy back stock, but there's only so much stock they can buy back. The only way you grow is through acquisition. You can't grow any other way. So
where is all the statistics going to lead us? What we're still talking about the next 10 years.
Yeah. More certainly over next year, much very vibrant, aggressive acquisition activity, just because the cash is still there, maybe even going into 2023. We'll see that. Just the chip shortage has led to a great deal of that. We'll see whether a Carvana or some other outside entity comes in and buys.
You said the word. You said the word, didn't you?
Buys a franchise dealership group. I can see Carvana.
Carvana goes franchise. Is that going to happen?
It's unknown yet, but it's certainly something they're looking at. Listen,
I would make the prediction. Carvana and those car dealers are going to come in and ramshackle your advertising. I'm telling you, I know everybody thinks that's like alarmist, but it's absolutely going to happen. I don't know if they're going to become a huge publicly traded corporation, but if they're smart, if I owned their company, I would absolutely be using all the data that's coming in to create an advertising agency on top of it. Call it whatever you want. It's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen.
They're basically assimilating all the dealers' data.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Car Guru. Car Gurus could have been a car dealer if they wanted to. And they went, we're going to be an advertiser. We're going to pull everybody's feeds in, become the best in the game at SEO and kill it. And now you need them. Now you're paying them to steal your business.
Watch Car Gurus closely.
I was going to say, there is a financial investment already there.
Yes, and there will be one with Carvana and them other ones as well.
Hey, Jimmy, I have a question for Cliff.
Okay,
Yes.
asking.
I think it's an interesting dynamic because we talk about the big publics buying, right? And one of the things that the publics have is a very defined business model on what they can derive out of their sales and their grosses to net profits.
Right.
And they're very selective. So they've been jettisoning a lot of different, mostly domestic manufacturers the last few years. But then you bring in these local mid-sized companies. I'll give you a good one from South Dakota, Minneapolis. They're in St. Louis, but they have a number of stores and they run 40% plus net to gross in normal times. And their highest profitable stores are Chrysler stores. Their Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge stores kill their Toyota and Honda stores because they know the local market, and they're going to be the ones that are buying those dealerships because they can make them work that the publics don't want. So there's two different dynamics going on.
Sure.
Public's got their model, and then these local guys are growing. They're getting bigger because they can grab these mom and pops or one or two or three, four, store groups in their trading area that they know. And they're going to grow them, and they just kill it. So there's two
Some of the
dynamics.
most profitable dealers I know are small market dealers.
Yeah,
I know a lot of dealers.
It's going to be interesting to see in the next few years, though, because as Jim, you asked where all this is going. I think one of the things to look at is the level of capital that a dealer has or dealer group has to invest in a lot of this new technology. I mean, if you look at the investments that they have to make on the EV side just to prepare their facilities, transform their facilities. Capital Automotive Group, real estate services out of Washington D.C. area, they're doing a lot of work on that, and it's a boatload of money. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That a dealership has to. It's not just about putting up charging stations. It's about a battery containment facility separate. From your normal facility, brand new list.
I have clients going through that right now. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's a huge list. Things you wouldn't even think of.
Right. So as a dealer starts to look at whether they want to be in business in 5 years, 10 years from now, I think you have to look at the costs of investment into this industry, into this business, and that's another reason why we're seeing so many that are willing to sell. They're getting great multiples, great prices, but they're also looking at, wow, do I want to be fighting this fight?
Okay, going a full circle. Will the manufacturers attempt to sell directly to the public and circumvent the dealers and turn the dealers into storage facilities and delivery facilities?
Oh, will they try again?
Yeah, I was
They've
going to
already
say yes.
tried.
Yeah.
Well, still, Cliff and I, and I'm glad Cliff's on the screen because Cliff and I were in this battle together.
Yes.
Do you remember when Ford had the auto collection? And I was writing for dealer magazine at the time, and we single-handedly brought them to their knees.
I mean, it was like the Sons of Liberty back in the Revolutionary colonial days.
Yeah, we were great.
It really was, except it wasn't by horseback; it was fax machine, and you had the dealers that were Ford dealers sending faxes back and forth. It was It was a heady. It was a.
I was doing speeches 3 days a week to dealer groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to become a lobbyist for this, Jim, I got your back. 10%. We're done. I got you. We'll get right on this.
And then General Motors had Ron Zarella. They tried the same stunt.
Yeah, with their CPO.
They didn't even get out of the driveway though with their plan.
Manufacturers don't need to retail vehicles. They're bad at it. Yeah, and they've always been bad at it.
This is what I say about the manufacturers. They want their cake and eat it too. They want the dealers to have the risk and the expense of retailing, but they want to tell the dealers how to do it. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, Jim. You asked the question, are they going to be selling direct? I think they're going to be disguising some of it, some of their attempts. Certainly, I think GM, watch what they're doing with
especially General Motors.
GMC with the new Hummer. And the sales.
Take a look at Eric's comment over here. We don't see all the comments that come through. It just depends on what channel it is. But so if we don't see yours, it's not intentional. But I do see Eric's right here. If we want to put that on. Oh, there's CJ's. Oh, I didn't see CJ's.
Oh yeah, that one is
yeah.
There you go, February.
But Eric says, "Am I the only one that thinks that all the consolidation is based on a leverage play to modify franchise laws? They could modify to retain the franchise principle, i.e., controlling allocation, altering standards, etc., and then gradually choke it off in favor of more OEM control, essentially nullifying local franchise laws, billions cheaper than fighting for legislation that make them look like the evil empire." I pointed that out because Jim actually said that last week, and it was a big source of contention after the show on all the different forums of what people were commenting on.
I think we've got to be the play there.
We've got a tremendous audience right now. Tremendous audience,
Bobbie.
Yeah.
I think
there's a lot of people watching this broadcast. Look at the size of. I'm seeing what you don't see because we're on 10 platforms right now.
Right.
And all of them don't show.
This is a bit. I would say. I mean, especially since we've got Rich on here with 20 groups. I attend a lot of 20 groups with my clients and a lot of different OEM meetings with clients. This has to become a bigger conversation internally inside of them, so it doesn't become one outside of it that doesn't have collaboration. Because to be around in 10 years, you have to change the behavior.
Look at CJ Lyon here. Built to order is going to fail. I have said that from the beginning. The consumers want instant gratification. They want that car right now. That's why inventory on the ground is so important. Let me go back to Rich a second.
Which is true when there's inventory.
Everybody laughs when you and I were working with King of Cars. You were the general manager of the store. Chop was there, but you were actually running the thing. I was consulting the project. I was training, and
I was watching
on the 3-acre lot. Blue Genie was doing outrageous commercials. But the funny thing is, 3-acre lot selling 800 Chryslers a month. That was Dodges, right?
Yeah, just Dodge. Dodge.
Right.
800 a month. I mean, and because although we had a 3-acre lot, how many storage lots did you have?
We had 3 major lots, 2 in the auto mall, 1 right outside. So it's the same exact thing that Cliff was talking about and Max was talking about. It was a business model that was there. We put the structure in place with the people and the processes, and logistically, we had someone that was a logistic expert that moved the products around, and it was just the same old stuff that's going on in the used car business that I used to look at 30 years ago. It was no cars over 30 days old, and we just moved everything and moved inventories, and that's all it was. It was just a model to move and turn whatever it was, serve parts, service, and we just make it quick, and it's again, it's whatever the model's going to be, and there's a lot of money that's going to be out there for everybody, and the manufacturers, you have all this bricks and mortar, and heck, Jim, I remember talking about it with you 20 years ago that the model was broken then. It was nuts having all those cars sitting around, but
Right.
we always made a lot of money on floor plan because we understood the turn. You know, we had
exactly.
We understood, but the manufacturers think consumers are going to wait 6 weeks for a car to be built.
I mean,
They're going to go
an
somewhere and they can get
enthusiast
one right
will,
now.
but
Yeah.
not your everyday driver.
Right.
That's the part. So many of these they're not want purchases. Like if I wanted to have the newest e-tron, and then I'm going to wait because that's something that I want.
I got a message for General Motors and Ford. You ain't Tesla.
No.
Right.
But let me throw a stickler in your plan here. Let me just throw something out here real quick. Let's say I'm the OEM and somebody orders a vehicle, and I know instant gratification is a thing, and I do what's happening right now. I pull from the allocation of another dealer, and I can have that car in your driveway in a week. Do you still wait then, or do you go into the store? Because right now, people are waiting longer. The buying cycle for a customer is longer than 180 days on a new car. Facts. So if I can order a car right now, and I think it's going to be 4 to 5 weeks when I go to do it, but the manufacturer come back and go, we got one an hour away, we're going to ship it to you the same way that Carvana does, I'm likely to wait that 1 week. And it doesn't have to end up like that if we can get it together on how to help a customer.
Bobby, I am getting calls from General Motors dealers these days, and I know Cliff is. And what they're saying is the new Hummer and the Cadillac Lyric and some of these other unicorns, that the manufacturer is taking from one dealer's allocation and allowing another dealer to sell it and still counting it against the other dealer's allocation. If I'm misinterpreting that, correct me. I've asked for some General Motors to call me. They won't do it, of course, but
So think about that for a minute, because I'm hearing the same thing. I can't confirm it. I'm hearing the same thing. But what I can tell you is the only objection this group and part of these people just gave to why that won't work is because of immediate gratification. But guess what? That takes the immediate gratification problem and it solves it.
But they're pulling from one dealer's allocation, letting another dealer sell it. Cliff, you hearing anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of speculative comments on that from dealers, wondering if that was going on. I mean, again, that goes.
Oh no. There's no wondering if it's going on. It's going on.
No, I know, but I'm saying a deal. I mean, looking for. Let me rephrase that. Looking for absolute proof on that.
We've had factory reps admit it.
Yes. So there you go.
We don't have it in writing yet.
I think
the legal part of Cliff is like, I can neither confirm nor deny this. But
let me let me say this though. When we go back to, when I went back, let's go back to that quote unquote the connected vehicle and the EV and the OEM having a greater control over that retail process. This is part of that control, I think, in terms of listen, the manufacturer's controlling.
Then the factory becomes the dealer.
Right. Well, it becomes a dealer, or
they already do it with your advertising. Why wouldn't they do it with the way you deliver cars?
The manufacturer wants to become the dealer.
Let's take the reality. Let's look at the reality right now. What's going on, right? And it's certainly it's been exasperated because of the chip situation, right?
Right.
But one thing that both sides have learned is they don't need 500 cars sitting on their lot to sell 100. There's going to be, to me, a sweet spot. There's going to be some logistic changes. There's going to be some software changes, but they do need to have a representable amount of cars for the people that do want to buy, and the ability to. It's kind of like when you used to do dealer trades. Some dealers would never trade. I'd say I'll trade anything because I know if I need it, I'm going to get it back from you, right? So I think there's going to be a sweet spot with technology, and software, and shipping, and just in time, and being able to produce vehicles maybe a little quicker. But there's going to be a sweet spot, I think, from both sides. You don't need all the cars you had. And guess what? The manufacturers are ringing the bell right now, too. So they're seeing the wisdom in creating profits and driving their profits. So there's got to be, I think it's going to change forever. I don't think you're going to see, the lots like they used to be, but certainly I think it'll settle into what makes sense for everybody.
Well, and here's the thing that I think, if it is about, there's got to be something else, because if it's about the OEM controlling the retail process, and we talked about this a few weeks ago. I grew up in General Motors stores, right? Oldsmobile, Pontiac, GMC, Cadillac. And we used to have, Cadillac especially would have control over our processes because we had mandated standards for excellence sales training. Those
Yep.
folks were in our dealerships helping to drive and control those processes, but the OEM pulled that. All the funding for that, just like Bobbie said, they used to, right? They're doing it with our advertising, co-oping. You can do this, you can do that. You can't play here. But they used to invest in their dealers from a process and training standpoint. And
Yeah.
I don't know of any OEMs doing that anymore.
Hey, Cliff, how can people order the Banks report?
Just the website, thebanksreport.com.
Okay. The Banks report.com.
And side note,
right?
I don't think it's just the franchise stores. There's a beautiful empty Carvana vending machine about 20 minutes from my house, and it's empty.
We
and
should
the
buy
building's
that.
empty, and
Let's buy that this year.
yeah.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Max, check in.
It's
for
a good
sec.
spot too, right on 69 and 96. And
I'm saying, table
So
this.
I
Let's
think,
talk.
I think OEMs, are confused and they really do believe that they're Tesla, right? And that's why they want to go direct, right? Because they
Max,
look
I don't know that they believe that. I think it's let's what the manufacturers are saying along those lines. They're talking to investors because the capital markets are demanding certain language and strategies from the legacy OEMs, so they have to play ball. I mean,
exactly. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I can hear this conversation in the boardroom when they're saying, "Look at Tesla. Why can't you be like Tesla? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that?" So the question is whether they're capable of executing, right? But not here, not here, not there. At the end of the day, if you're a car dealer, right, and you can listen, you can waste your money and start prepping for the electric future and other fantasy. How about focusing on today? There's 267 million used cars on the road.
Absolutely.
Right? Why don't you become the best used car dealer? Have the best prep center, have the best service department, the best parts business. There's so much money to go around. Let OEM fall flat on their face, trying to sell direct to consumer. Control your destiny.
Max, what books do you have on Amazon right now?
So I have 4 books on Amazon. Just Google my name on Amazon. Give me a call. If you're really in it to win it, I can help you set up, some extremely profitable reinsurance structures and really control your destiny.
Okay, so you got 4 books. What's some why like crazy shit car dealers do?
Yes.
Okay, Rich, give me 2 minutes. What you got?
Personally, if I was young like you, if I had an opportunity to get back in the retail business, I would. I wouldn't be afraid of it a minute. Because I know, I think you can build.
So we're going to be here 10 years from now. You're saying dealers will be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'll be here with you. We'll be talking this. We'll have less teeth and less hair, but we'll be all right.
Hey, my teeth will survive a nuclear explosion. There's $30,000 there.
Yeah, I got great teeth.
I got great teeth. Bobbie, what's going on? 1 minute. 1 minute, Bobbie.
1 minute. All right. Well, I'll tell you this. For those of you who've been asking about the reinsurance and I'm getting text messages on it, please call Max. Even if you don't work with him, he's genuine, direct, and will answer your questions. So give him a call. Outside of that, my website is listed, thebeesneesagency.com. We have very limited opportunities to help people this year. But if this is something that you're concerned about, pick up the phone and call me and let's have a conversation about it.
Absolutely. Okay, Jennifer, 1 minute.
Hey, I'm going to be here in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I think that we are resilient. And as long as you're focusing on the departments that are making you money and improving your profitability by the numbers, not by your gut, you're going to be fine.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have burned up an hour awfully fast. We've had between Rich Ackman and Cliff Banks, 2 of the finest people in the car business. These guys are experts in their field. Futurist, Jennifer, Max, and Bobbie, experts in their field. will the car dealers be here 10 years from now? There's a lot of entities in the business saying no, we're doomed to fail. But the truth of the matter is, the resilience of the car dealers, that's what Rich was talking about earlier. Will we be here 10 years from now? I don't know that I will, but I think car dealers will. And I'm going to tell you right now, please share this with other people. Share this broadcast. Tune in next Tuesday at 2 p.m. for the Dawg Pound. And we might even continue this subject. I mean, but all in all, Cliff's laughing on the sidebar over there. But the truth of the matter is, this is one heck of an argument. What's going on with the car dealers? Okay, everybody, wave goodbye to the audience. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.